Hi, y'all, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Tonight is a special presentation, The Hunt for the Red Truck. Police believe that on May 24th, 2019, Fotis Dulos drove his red truck down to New Canaan, Connecticut, where he murdered his wife, Jennifer Dulos. Tonight, we are going on a hunt for the red truck. We're going to put together maps, testimony, court documents, Google Earth, all to help us understand where the red truck went and why it's so important in this case. On trial right now in Stamford, Connecticut is Michelle Troconis, the girlfriend of Fotis Dulos. Fotis is no longer alive, and so that's why she's on trial without him. She is charged with conspiring with Fotis to kill his wife, Jennifer Dulos. Now, Jennifer mysteriously disappeared on May 24th, 2019, and she hasn't been heard or seen since. Heard from or seen since. So let me take you really quickly to the overview of the case that we've done. Jennifer Dulos is the missing mom of 5. Prosecutors say she was murdered by her husband, Fotis Dulos, and Fotis was aided, conspired with by Michelle Troconis, his girlfriend, and by Kent Maywinnie, an attorney and friend of Fotis's. So let's pull that out and talk a little bit more. I am so excited about tonight's show. We are covering and have been covering the murder conspiracy trial of Michelle Troconis that's going on right now. It's been really different because there were no opening statements and the state has been putting on the case very, very slowly. But what has happened is that's given us a unique chance to take what we're learning at trial and put it together with real world facts to figure things out for ourselves. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be taking a look, as I said, at all sorts of things. I have never attempted a broadcast of this magnitude before. I hope y'all will be very patient with me. I have 36 exhibits that I'll share on one screen with you. I have 3 shared screens separate from that I'm going to be sharing with you from the internet. There is a lot going to be going on. So please be patient with me as I kind of work through the details of how to do all this for you. So tonight's show is actually the product of work by a lot of different people because I've gotten input from people who live in the area, from people, subscribers, from people who have written in, and I'm going to be incorporating that as we go through it and talk about what happened with the red truck. Now, before I get into things and forget, as I usually do, let me just take a minute to ask you, would you please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel? It would mean a lot for the channel, and I would really appreciate it. Now, like I said, the trial has been difficult to follow because it's being put in little bits and pieces to make sure that it's all buttoned up and carefully done by the state. But that's made it a little more difficult to follow, particularly without opening. So we are going to join today law enforcement's hunt for the red truck, and you are going to hear this is the product of many, many witnesses and different places that we're going to be pulling this information. We're going to cover 4 different areas. First, we're going to start with why the truck is important. Why does it matter so much? Second, we're going to follow that truck down from an address in Farmington, Connecticut, where Fotis was renovating a home, down to New Canaan, where Jennifer Dulos was murdered. Third, we're going to track the truck inside New Canaan. We're going to look at Google Maps. We're going to travel down together to Lapham Road ourselves to see where Jennifer's car was abandoned and where the red truck was inside New Canaan, Connecticut. We're going to be using Google Earth. I'm going to read some important insights by 2 subscribers. And then finally, we're going to follow that red truck back up to Farmington, Connecticut. We're going to see exactly what it is that the prosecution says happened. So let me, I plan to stop periodically through it and thank super chats. And I want to do that tonight. I want to thank Veronica. Veronique, sorry, not Veronica, Veronique. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So let's take a look. I want to talk first about why that red truck is so important. And I want to talk about a few kind of surprising facts about it that will help you understand why it really matters. The first surprising fact is who owned it. Because for a vehicle to be so important, you would think one of the people involved in the murder or accused of the murder would be involved, but instead it actually belonged to somebody different. Let's take a look as I put in another exhibit. So this is what we heard from the arrest warrant affidavit for Michelle Troconis. A red Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, that's the red truck we're going to be talking about tonight, registered to Gumieni's wife, Barbara Gumieni. Who's Gumieni? Pavel Gumieni was a long-term employee of Fotis Dulos, and Barbara Gumieni was his wife. She owned it. She's not connected. In fact, Pavel Gumieni himself isn't even accused in the murder. So that's sort of different. But here's what the affidavit explained. According to Gumieni, his wife normally drove her own vehicle, and he used the Toyota Tacoma for transportation to and from the Farmington area in connection to his employment by Fotis Dulos' company. During Gumieni's work week, he indicated he was usually provided a 4-group vehicle to operate. So that's how he ended up with, that's how this truck ended up being important in the case, even though it isn't involved with it wasn't owned by any of the people accused in the murder. Now, here's what police think happened. They think Gumieni left his truck at the 4-group headquarters, which, by the way, was Fotis Dulos' home. I'm going to make this a little bit different format. There we go. Fotis Dulos' home, and then Fotis took that truck down in New Canaan to kill Jennifer Dulos. That's what they think. Now, the second kind of strange fact about the truck is who cleaned the truck, because you would normally expect the owner of the vehicle is the person who cleans the truck, who takes it for cleaning. But instead, here's what we found out. Russell Speeder's car wash investigation determined that on 5/29/19, which is 5 days after Jennifer Dulos disappeared, Dulos and Troconis together shuttled Gumieni's Toyota Tacoma pickup truck to Russell Speeder's car wash in Avon, Connecticut, in order to have the vehicle thoroughly cleaned and detailed. They paid $250 for this, the affidavit tells us. And according to Michelle Troconis, Dulos got into the Chevy Yukon, a different vehicle they own, and the two of them traveled to the law office. Let me see if I can make that go away so I can read what's underneath it. I'll just read it. I know what it is. Of attorney Andrew Bowman, who currently represents Troconis. That's no longer the person who represents her, but at the time it was. So there's another strange and bizarre fact. Why would Michelle Troconis and Fotis Dulos clean somebody else's vehicle? Why would they pay $250 to have it detailed? That's just a strange fact. It doesn't make a lot of sense, is what the prosecution feels like. So then there's a third weird fact about this Toyota Tacoma, and that's that Fotis Dulos insisted that the seats of the truck be removed, even though it wasn't his car. And the seats actually had been removed when the prosecution or when law enforcement found the vehicle. So let's take a look now at the next slides. During the search warrant execution, Gumieni told detectives that the seats which were installed in the Toyota, and I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute, were different from the seats which had been in the truck on May 24, 2019. The results indicated Jennifer Dulos's blood was found on the passenger seat of the vehicle. So, well, all of that is strange. Her blood on the passenger seat of the vehicle? How would that happen? It doesn't belong. It belongs to Gumieni, an employee's wife. It doesn't make sense. Why would her blood be there? Also confusing is the fact that the seats weren't the seats which had been in the truck. Very strange. And here's what Gumieni told police. On May 30th, 2019, which is 6 days after Jennifer disappeared, Dulos told Gumieni he should go to a junkyard to buy replacement seats for the Toyota and pay cash for them. Dulos told him he would reimburse whatever the cost was to Gumieni in cash. Dulos also told Gumieni that during future phone calls, he was to avoid using the word seats and should instead refer to the seats as hardware. So police say weird upon weird. Can't call them what they actually are, seats. Why do you need to replace them? Why do you need to pay cash? And I'll read a little bit more that isn't even highlighted. On May 31st, at Dulos's urging, Gumieni went to a junkyard and spent 2 hours looking for seats to replace those currently in his Toyota. After his search was unsuccessful, Gumieni received a phone call from Dulos, who was inquiring on his progress on the hardware. Gumieni responded that he was working on it. When Gumieni returned to the office, Dulos appeared angry that he had failed to find replacement seats, and he described Dulos as being firm in his viewpoint the seats needed to be replaced. When Gumieni asked Dulos why he wanted him to change the seats, Dulos told Gumieni not to worry about it, that nothing happened, and repeated he should not worry about it. Gumieni pressed Dulos on why he had cleaned the Tacoma and why he was insisting on the seats being changed. Dulos then told Gumieni the reason lay in the fact that when he went to Jennifer's house on Mother's Day, he had given Jennifer a hug, adding he had also held Jennifer's cat during the visit. Dulos claimed he was worried that one of Jennifer's hairs could be found in the Tacoma. Dulos told Gumieni to change the Tacoma seats and get rid of the old ones so no one would ever find them. And I want you to see, I want you to go ahead and see, I'll skip over that. These are the seats that were actually inside the Toyota Tacoma when law enforcement took possession of it. We'll find out what they are. They are not bolted in. They're just sitting loose in the cab of the pickup. So let's go back. The only alternative Gumieni could think of was to use the seats from Dulos's wrecked Porsche, which he removed on May 31st. After removing the Tacoma seats and substituting the Porsche seats, he remained suspicious about Dulos's claimed reasons for having the seats removed. Instead of getting rid of the seats, Gumieni kept the seats in the garage of his residence in case the police ever wanted to take them. And then he offered the seats to police when they came looking. So I want you to notice, this is, again, the picture of the inside with the seat just sitting there. It is not bolted in. It's loose inside the cab so that no one could drive it anywhere. And see that yellow bucket out there? That yellow bucket is actually holding up the driver's seat. It's propped up on that yellow bucket. And you can see the two seats are just, this one on the passenger side, just loose, kind of falling over, not really even in place. So naturally, all of this seemed really odd to investigators. Plus, Fotis's employee said that Fotis, he had left his truck at the foregroup like he normally did, but Fotis said it was leaking gas and he insisted on moving it to 80 Mountain Spring. That is one of the places where they were working and building a house. I'm going to show you a picture and everything about what it looks like. So we're coming up on that. So the prosecution thinks Fotis intentionally chose this vehicle to drive to the murder because it wasn't directly associated with Fotis. Now, in the end, the fact that it was the fact that they had done the detailing, that they had washed it, that was one of the reasons why Michelle Troconis got arrested. Here's what the affidavit said. Troconis's phone records placed her cell phone in the area of the People's United Bank in Avon at approximately 2:28 p.m. Russell Speeders, that's the car wash, surveillance shows Dulos entering the lobby to pay for the detailing of the Toyota. Both Dulos and Troconis were arrested on September 4th and 5th, respectively, largely based on their roles outlined above to tamper with or fabricate physical evidence. So it was because of washing it and trying to get rid of evidence. That's what prosecution said was the reason they were going to, that they were in the end arresting them, or in the beginning arresting them. So I want to say thank you to LNMD93. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And the KS, thank you both for the super chat, super stickers. I really appreciate that. So now we are about to begin the trek with the truck. We are about to begin following the truck That's what law enforcement did. They set out on the trail of the red truck. They were trying to figure out, okay, what is it that this truck did on the 24th? That was the day that Jennifer Dulos disappeared forever, leaving behind her 5 children. Now, the prosecution believes it gets its first glimpse of this red truck early on the morning of the 24th. They got surveillance video from 77 Mountain Spring Road. Fotis Dulos' Ford Group, that's the name of his company, was renovating a house right across the road at 80 Mountain Spring Road. 80 Mountain Spring Road is a 1926 Tudor estate, absolutely stunning. I have a couple of pictures of it for you. That is 80 Mountain Spring that Fotis Dulos was renovating. His company did very high-end renovations. Oops, went too far. Uh-oh. Hopefully that is not going. Uh-oh. We don't want anything going wrong right now. That would really be a problem. Okay. So let's skip back. Hopefully, are we headed back? Yeah, there we go. There's 80 Mountain Spring Road. Went a little too far. 80 Mountain Spring Road. It is just absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful house. And he was doing the renovation of that. Now I'm going to try something I have not tried before. I'm going to take us down. I'm going to shift the sharing screen, and I am going to, and this may take me a minute because I've not done this before. So I am going to remove this from the screen. I am going to stop the sharing somehow. There we go. And I'm going to add another screen for you to see. Let's head over to it. Okay, let's see how we do. Oh, yay, it worked. Okay. All right, this is actually Mountain Spring Road. We are looking at it together. What you see on the right there, that is 80 Mountain Spring, that gorgeous property that Fotis Dulos was renovating. Where that driveway is where they were able to actually see the pickup truck come out of that. Let's go ahead and drive up a little bit, so to speak. We're now looking, you can see back through the trees. That is 80 Mountain Spring. In the video, they were able to see the pickup truck come down this driveway and out to Mountain Spring Road. This is how they were able to see it. Right here, this is 77 Mountain Spring Road, and they had a video surveillance camera. 80 Mountain Spring did not, but the house right across the street did. So they were able to actually see the truck coming down the driveway. We'll head back over and see it coming down the driveway. And let me show you those. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm going to now have to switch back to my other presentation. So I'll have to stop sharing that. Okay. And now this is very exciting. For those of you who have followed the channel for a while, I know you're all on pins and needles. Oh no, Lee is trying technology again. We'll see how this goes, but hopefully I can keep it up. Okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, so we are now going to try to look. So what they were able to see is this. From 77 Mountain Spring, they were able to look out. It's very difficult to see, but in the upper right-hand corner, kind of behind those white numbers that you see, they were able to see the red truck coming out. They were able to see it actually behind there. Here's a little bit. You can see it now. It's on the very upper part of that picture. The red truck has come out of the driveway and it's headed out. So they were able to see that the red Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, what they believe it was, came out of 80 Mountain Spring Road where Fotis Dulos was constructing a house, was working on a house. That was what, so let's go back. Now, that alone is actually pretty important when it comes to the state's case against Michelle Troconis. And here's why. Michelle vouched for Fotis. She said that at 6:40 when she woke up, he was at home. She said they even took a shower together. But if Fotis was the person driving the red Toyota Tacoma pickup truck down to New Canaan, then Michelle wasn't telling the truth. And law enforcement needed to, and it would be, of course, it would be wrong for Michelle to lie to the police at all. But what she said really matters if Fotis actually went on to murder Jennifer. So that is the next thing that the police had to look at. Law enforcement needed to know where the truck went next. And to understand what that means, you need to realize that where Fotis lives and where 80 Mountain Spring is nowhere near New Canaan, where Jennifer lived. After Jennifer and Fotis separated, she took the 5 kids and she moved about an hour and a half south of where they had lived in Farmington, which was very near Hartford, Connecticut. So let's take a look at a map I did to show you. This is about how far it is. It's about an hour and 20 minutes at the time I did this particular look between where Fotis and Michelle lived in Farmington, all the way down to where Jennifer lived at 69 Wells Street in New Canaan, Connecticut. So it's a good long distance. And in order to have Fotis be the actual person who committed the murder, Fotis has to go from where he lives. He has to be present in New Canaan, where Jennifer disappeared from. So that's what the prosecution, what law enforcement was working on proving, and what they were looking at trying to figure out. So it's not like they lived in the same city, though. If he murdered her, he had to travel that hour and 20 minutes. But law enforcement saw that as an opportunity, because if they could prove that one of Fotis Dulos' vehicles went down in New Canaan on the day of the murder, that is powerful evidence that he was at least had the opportunity to murder Jennifer Dulos. So law enforcement sent an officer to check all of the rest stop cameras, and they can see them all in one location, he explained, on the way from Farmington, where 80 Mountain Spring is, down to New Canaan, where Jennifer lived. Officer Greg LeBeau is with the Connecticut State Police. He was the one asked to check the cameras, and he was told to look for 3 vehicles: a black Ford Raptor owned by Fotis and the Ford Group, a black Chevy Suburban he owned, and the red Toyota Tacoma. That's the vehicle that we're following tonight. Now, he didn't find either of the 2 black vehicles, the Ford Raptor or the Chevy Suburban, but he did strike gold on the red Toyota Tacoma. He'd been given a photo of it, and the Toyota Tacoma he was looking for had some very distinctive characteristics. Let's take a look at what it looked like. This is what the vehicle looked like. Notice on the front, down below the bumper, that's a mount for a snowplow. That was one of the things he had that he could look for. You also see the silver running board or step that runs along the side of the vehicle. That was another thing he was told he could look for. And you can kind of see the grill work and what the colors are on it. So he had all of those things to go on. Those were all things that he was able to look at. So he spent hours reviewing the tapes, and he found numerous red pickups. He found numerous even Toyota Tacomas, but he found only one that met all of the criteria he'd been given. What he found was that red Toyota Tacoma hit the Fairfield rest area at 6:36 a.m. He picked it up then, and it passed the Fairfield rest area, and 27 minutes later, he saw the same truck traveling by the New Canaan rest area. So I put that together for you. Wait, that's not what I wanted to show you. Well, anyway, we'll see it in a minute. I tell you what, I'll flip on back to the back, and we'll come back there. It'll take me just a second. So here are the rest stops that he looked at. I made this little exhibit so you could kind of see. He was looking at 2 rest stops, and another witness added them in. He first was looking at the Fairfield Service Plaza. He was looking at the New Canaan Service Plaza or rest stop, and another witness looked at the Valley Transit District rest stop. Those were the points where there were cameras where they might be able to spot the pickup truck. So at 6:36 a.m., he sees the Toyota Tacoma hit Fairfield, that service plaza there. Then at 7:03 a.m., it's all the way down in New Canaan where Jennifer lives. So he was able to see the movement of that Toyota Tacoma. So let's head back to where we were in the exhibits. Okay. So, and when he looked when he watched sort of the vehicle as it went through, He saw it in this. It's not all that easy to see, but if you look in the upper left-hand corner of that picture that he's showing at the time to the jury, you can see the red truck kind of almost hidden by a white vehicle. And he showed a video of it going by, about a 1-second video of it zipping by. You can see that same red truck here. This is the 6:36 view when it hit Fairfield, and this is 7:03 when it hit New Canaan. It's all the way down in New Canaan by then. And here's a close-up he showed of it being in New Canaan at 7:03. So that's critically important. In that hour and a half, that red truck had made it all the way down to New Canaan where Jennifer lived. So let me go ahead and take a quick moment to say thank you to Kayla. Oh, I appreciate that very much. All right, so let's keep looking at what happened to the red Tacoma pickup truck. And what I want to do, because police now had an issue. They're out of rest stops, right? The vehicle is now inside an urban or suburban area. And so they followed it, but now they have to find out what it did in New Canaan. They did see some movement of Jennifer's vehicle when she took the kids to school and so forth, but that didn't really, none of that showed a red Tacoma pickup truck. So, okay, where was it? And based on bloody evidence that had been left behind, police believe that Jennifer was killed in her own garage. They think the killer put her in the back of her own Chevy Suburban and then took her out of the Suburban, took the WeatherTech liner out of the back in case it had any of Jennifer's blood on it. But there aren't cameras that show a red Tacoma pickup truck heading over to her house. So where did it go? To follow it, police turned to bus video because city and school buses have cameras on them. In fact, we saw just how important that was in the Adelson case. It played a pivotal role in finding who had followed Dan Markel, and then they traced that back to who the hitmen were. Now, let's start with an overview of the area, and let's take a look at this. Well, here was that document I was looking for a minute ago. I wanted to show you the vehicle headed southbound and the two places where he had found it. This is sort of an overview, and let me start with the map, I think. Let's start with that map. This is an overview to sort of give you an idea of what went on in New Canaan. Jennifer's house is shown there. You can see it. She drove her kids to school, dropped them off, and came back. It was really close, like a matter of a few houses over. And so that didn't take her long. She was captured on video going both ways. Police believe she was killed. You can see where her car ended up at the end of the day at 7 p.m. Police find her abandoned vehicle right where you see that arrow is. The Toyota Tacoma was temporarily pictured right where you see it is. We're going to go into much more detail about that. There was a train station that was possibly in play because there's been some suggestion by the defense, at least by Fotis's lawyers early on before he died, that maybe Jennifer just ran away. Maybe she hightailed it to this train station, couldn't take life anymore, sick of the 5 kids, and went on about her business, left her life behind, completely abandoned it. So that's one of the things that has been shown. Now, this is a picture of the same thing, but you can kind of see the layout a little bit more because it's superimposed on top of a satellite view. You can see the park to the right of Jennifer's car. It's called Waveney Park, and you can see sort of the layout of where things are. The yellow road you see is Merritt Parkway. That's where the rest stops were, and that's where we were able to see, the police were able to find those pictures and see the Tacoma truck passing by on the highway. This is, and let me make sure I'm not leaving anything out. So this is Jennifer's vehicle as it was found on the side of the road that night. Now, everything, now I imagine it was taken the next day when it was later, but everything about this vehicle screamed wrong. Nobody was in it. The running lights were on. The transmission was left in reverse. Investigators thought they saw a stain spatter on the passenger side of the vehicle. So although the testimony so far is confusing, it's not really clear whether or not that was blood. But Lapham Road obviously seemed like a pretty good place to look. So police pulled out school videos and they hit pay dirt. So let me show you. This is another picture of the Chevy Suburban parked on the side of the road just as it was left. And the prosecution says, well, somebody drove it there. Somebody drove it to this location and left it there. And they pulled out that and they did something unknown still with Jennifer's body. Now, we're not able to see the school bus video. What was explained to the court was that the video is there, but it shows pictures of the school children just sort of incidentally as it's showing the area around the bus. So they couldn't show it. They had no way to blot that out. And obviously, they couldn't show pictures of school children who were not connected to the case in any way. So they just did not allow that to be broadcast. I'm going to tell you sort of the facts I gleaned, and this is across multiple witnesses, including what the school bus witness said. Okay, the Chevy, and I'm going to then show you some pictures as I've tried to put it all together graphically for you to see. The Chevy Suburban was parked on the side of Lapham Road. It was facing south toward Merrick Parkway. It was on the left side, which would be the opposite from the driving direction it should have been. It was not in the same cutout as the pickup truck. I feel like it's kind of one of those logic problems, you know. The truck was not in the same cutout as, but okay, so the red pickup was not in the cutout at 7:05, but was there on bus video at 7:40 and at 7:58. It was facing north and it was on the opposite side of the road. So interestingly, both went to the opposite side from where they probably should have parked. Instead of parking with traffic, they both went to the opposite side. The Chevy Suburban was north of the pickup. So all that to say, we're trying to piece this together, and we're having to do it without all of the video or pictures that the jury got to see. But I think we have a pretty decent picture of it. Now, there was one thing I wondered about that wasn't presented or talked about. I just would think there would be school bus video when the kids were all brought home later that day. And I would think it would show the Chevy Suburban parked on the side of Lapham Road and not show the red pickup truck. If so, that's really important because law enforcement says the red pickup headed back north by something after 11 a.m. So assuming the buses are doing those same routes home, why isn't there video of that? It seems like that would be pretty powerful. And if for any reason the Chevy Suburban isn't there at whenever the buses go through, that's hugely important. It would suggest maybe there was someone else involved who dropped the vehicle off there. So, okay, let's start to sort of put all this together. Okay, so this is the area where the vehicle was left. You've got the park. You can see Waveney parked there where the red is. Lapham Road is where these vehicles were found. See those weird long tubes? That was apparently mulch. We're going to see that in just a minute. Here is a close-up. The witness was asked, okay, where on Lapham Road were these two vehicles? And he pointed to where Jennifer's vehicle was, about where the L is. And you can see it's just barely below where those mulch piles were, those mulch tunnels or whatever they were. And then he then pointed to where the red pickup truck was on the school bus video. And it was more like where the D is on Lapham Road. So that gave us sort of a pinpoint of where things are. Now, I'm going to show you an overview map of Lapham Road, and I've kind of put in where I think the vehicles were, what kind of makes sense to me. The Chevy Suburban, her black Chevy Suburban, I made it kind of gray because it wasn't showing up. It was pointing southbound and toward the Merritt Parkway that you see there. The red Toyota Tacoma was pointing north, and you can see it there. I pointed it north. I'm giving you direction arrows. So they were on opposite sides of the road, but pointed toward each other. Those were the video showed the red pickup truck. And then we know where Jennifer's vehicle was found. The bus video didn't show Jennifer's vehicle. Let me be clear on that. The bus video showed the red pickup truck. But then we have information about where Jennifer's vehicle was. So that's kind of the information that we have. So let's take a look at the next video. I did a little bit closer look so you can kind of see. Now, both vehicles are south of those mulch areas, those long tubes of mulch, and then the two vehicles are pretty close to Merritt Parkway. So what I thought would be really interesting was, and like I say, this came from multiple witnesses, plus the affidavit. There's a lot of different things. The prosecution has not yet put in any kind of exhibit or witness who would pull it all together. We're trying to pull it together now. And may I say, if you've been watching, go through it. Help me figure this out. I would really appreciate it, because that's the goal, is to figure it out right. And if you have ideas or thoughts, send them to me. I really appreciate that. I've been getting so many emails and communications from y'all, and I really appreciate that. So let me know. Let me stop for a minute. And I want to thank Susan Young for her super sticker. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, we are now going to switch over, and I want us to dive down literally into, I can only share one screen at a time, which is why I have to remove that and share another screen with you to stop that screen. And I have to share another screen with you. Okay, talking my way through it. So you'll know I'm still trying. Okay, this was the first one. I want you to see Google Earth. And I really am, right now we're about to head into some areas where I got great help from you, from subscribers and people who wrote me. I have never tried this before on one of my live streams, and we will just see whether it works. What I'd like to do is take Google Maps and we go there together. So we're going to start with Google Earth. I got an email from Francisco suggesting I try it, and I thought that's a great idea. So let's take a look together. This is the overview. In the upper far left-hand corner would be, in fact, we can pull down and see the school. I think it's on there, where her kids went and where Jennifer lives. She lives up in this area, kind of up in there. You can see those mulch rows. Those are really useful for figuring out where we are. And you can see Lapham Road. We will head down to Lapham Road. And you can see that Lapham Road crosses over Merritt Parkway. That wasn't apparent from some of the other stuff, but when you go to Google Earth, you can really see that. Right in here is where the two vehicles were. You can see about how big a vehicle would be by looking at that small white vehicle through there. So you've got in this space below, we'll pull back just a little bit, in the space below the mulch rows in that area of Lapham Road right there, both vehicles were there. They were supposedly about 100 feet apart. Were they there at the same time? We don't have a picture to confirm that, but the prosecution thinks for some period of time they were there for the same time. You can see if we pull back out, Waveney parked there. I think it definitely makes sense that the vehicle was parked right there in that area below the mulch, because if you go north from that, you can start to see you've got an open field, you've got tennis courts, or is that what that is? Yeah, I think tennis courts, and then you've got a pool. So you're going to have a lot more people around there, and it's going to be a lot more visible. So it really does make sense that this is where the vehicles would have been parked. It would be much more secluded and wooded around there so that it would be less noticeable. There would be less to see it. So now I want to head over to Google Maps, and let's take a look at Merritt Parkway. Now, I heard from one of our listeners, Sarah, who lives in New Canaan, and she wrote with some really interesting specific information about Merritt Parkway. What she said was that it's basically a scenic highway. It doesn't allow trucks. And it connects to another parkway, that the Hutchinson Parkway, which ends in the Bronx. She told me that it mostly runs below the crossing roads, and that's exactly what we just saw on Google Earth. We were able to tell that. But you couldn't cross. I had wondered about how she's going to cross the parkway, because I'm assuming that they're right there together, but that's not how it would be. She would cross, if she were to be walking, she would cross up above it. Of course, as you can see right there, you see a little train icon, and that is where the train station is, that the defense, at least Fotis's defense, suggested maybe possibly she took. So what I want to do is I want to head down and together, and we will see right where, oh, here it is, Lapham Road is. Okay, here we are on Lapham Road. Or not on, we're on the Merritt Parkway, and that is right there, Lapham Road, headed above the Merritt Parkway. Now, here's what Sarah told me. Here's some more about what Sarah said. She said that from the roads above, you would not easily notice the parkway, and from the parkway, you cannot see much at all unless you are not driving and you look really hard. And even then, most areas to the sides of the Merritt are totally obscured by foliage and thick woods, which blocks off views of any activity at the side. Not to mention, everyone is driving parkway speeds between 45 around curves and 55 miles an hour, and the Merritt tends to be very congested and tight all the time. So there's a lot of distraction. So she wanted us to know that. Now, she mentioned the grass median, and you can see that there is, in fact, a grass median all along there. It goes down to no median, really, to speak of, right underneath the bridge because it's smaller. But right there, this would have been the area where the road crossed Merritt Parkway. Now, I'm going to double check back over here. I want to make sure nobody's saying, oh, we can't read any of this. No? Oh, good. Okay. So good. I'm glad everybody seems to be able to see it. I was a little worried about that. Okay. So now I want to take us back up. I want us to go down to Lapham Road together. Okay, so let's head right there. Lapham, here we are on Lapham Road. This is where Jennifer Dulos's vehicle was found. I can't tell you exactly which cutoff. I can just say in general, or cut out. All right, let's zip back here. We can see on Lapham Road, went a little too far. Right there is the highway. So this is Merritt Parkway right there. The road is running right above that. Hopefully not making y'all dizzy, but we'll just go down the road just far enough so we can see the cutouts until we hit that area with the mulch. It's not too far, but you can see along the way, there's a cutout. There's one on either side of the road there, more cutouts. And the officer explained this is where people will park if they want to go into the park and they want to walk or do whatever in the park. So in fact, there's a car there parked right there. We'll head a little further in. We're almost, here's a truck parked there. We're getting closer. See how it's opening up to the right. That's where some of the fields have started, but we can see some more cutouts, and we are about to hit that mulch area. And here it is, the mulch area. So we can see the mulch right there. Take a look at that. And up ahead and on the right, that is Waveney Park. And that is where her vehicle was found. So now we also heard from Beth, who lives in Connecticut, and she's worked in New Canaan for 7 years. She was interested in the suggestions from the defense that maybe Jennifer abandoned everything, ran off, left kids, money, her entire family, left everything behind, suddenly boarded a train to parts unknown. And that's in general going to be a tough sell probably, because most people don't run away from life in general, but they definitely don't run away from 5 kids. Now, here's what Beth said. She said that the roads in this area are, and we're going to look at it, I'm going to pull out and we're going to go look at this area where the train station is. She told us that the roads in the area don't have sidewalks or shoulders, and they're narrow and they're busy. So plus it's a hike, and that's true from where the car and truck were parked to the train station. So if Jennifer were walking from Waveney to the train station, she would have been noticed. And she also said that and may I say, that really makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can imagine what a tremendous deal this was in a small town like New Canaan everybody would have been talking about this. If anyone had any idea that where she was, if anybody thought they had seen her, that would definitely be something that would have been important. So let's pull back out, and I'm going to take us over to the train station. So we're gonna stop here a little bit before the train station on Talmadge Hill Road. I hope I'm going to head in the right direction. Inevitably, I head in the wrong direction on this. We'll see if we hit the train station. But you can see there are no sidewalks, just like she said, narrow road. And there are definitely cars on it. So we're definitely seeing that. Everything she said is correct. It would be something that would be difficult for somebody to hide. I think we did go the wrong way. My bad. We'll go down the other way and see the train station. Hopefully. Okay, we're headed down, looking for the train station. Up, I see it already. Here are all the cars parked there. So all the cars are parked there and have taken the train into wherever they were headed. So she definitely was right. I mean, there's a little bit of a sidewalk right here, but in all that other area where you would have walked from Lapham Road, there was no sidewalk. There are cars there. People really would have noticed. People would have been on high alert, I would think. If she had been seen, somebody would have remembered that. Somebody really would have thought hard about that, I think. So let me pull out. So then that leaves a problem, right? Because police figure that Fotis Dulos shoved Jennifer Dulos's body into the back of her Chevy Suburban. But then what? Where is the body? And the red truck and the Chevy Suburban weren't parked in the same turnaround. Now, the Chevy Suburban was in reverse, so maybe someone parked in front of it to make room for the pickup. Maybe that's what the prosecution believes. But even so, somebody would have had to carry Jennifer's body from the Suburban to the pickup truck. And granted, Lapham Road is smaller, but there are people up and down, and carrying a body is about as conspicuous and risky as it gets in terms of getting caught. And then that person would have to drive all the way back to Farmington, an hour and 20 minutes north. Police did test that front seat and found traces of Jennifer's blood, but would anybody drive an hour and a half with a body sitting next to them in the seat? I mean, that would be insanity. What if they got a wreck or a ticket or something, or just, for that matter, just get stuck in traffic and the person riding beside them just happens to look over? It just seems like an insane risk. So let us stop for just a minute. I'm going to pull out, head back over here, and I have a bunch more people to thank and appreciate. I want to thank Harley. I don't think I thanked Harley before. Thank you, Harley62. I appreciate that. And JCS Monroe, I appreciate that as well. And Peggy, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the super chats. So let's pull out of this, and we will start with our new, we'll go back to our other screen that we're going to present. So all a challenge for me, but overall, I think we did pretty well. So hopefully y'all have been able to follow along. Okay, so there we are back with our sharing screen. Are we there? Not yet. Oh, I shared the wrong one. Okay, so we're not there yet. We'll remove that one. Stop sharing that one. We will present the other one. It only allows you to share one at a time. So if you're sharing different kinds of files, you have to do it this way. So that is the reason why it's a little more complicated. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure I have everything closed that I don't need. That way I won't accidentally pull up the wrong one. Okay, so it's going to be the green. No, not that one. There we go. Okay, how'd that work? Oh, yay. Okay, we are on the right one. And we are now going to follow that red pickup truck, and we are going to follow it back up to Farmington. We are going to go with the police as they go right back up all the way to Farmington and follow it. So and it makes sense, because if this is the right red truck, then the police should be able to find it headed back toward Hartford, because that's the direction. In fact, by that evening, Fotis and Michelle were riding around Hartford, and Fotis was throwing out plastic trash bags, some of which have bloody items in them. So sure enough, Officer LeBeau spotted the truck headed back toward Hartford late that morning, and it hit the New Canaan rest stop at 11:12. So he did a close-up of it, so you can see there's the truck headed back up, and you can even see that silver running board on the side. You can see the snowplow. It's a really good picture of it. It hit the Fairfield rest stop by 11:25. It's not the red SUV you see kind of close to you. It's the pickup truck that you see on the highway going by at 11:25. At 11:40 a.m., they found it at yet another rest stop that wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't searched before, but they only mentioned it one time. That was at 11:40, and it was Village, what was it called? Village something, a Village Transit District is where they found this. And you can see the witnesses pointing to a red pickup truck all the way in the upper area. And they followed it all the way back. It turned back into 80 Mountain Spring Road. Sure enough, they found that at 12:22. You may see it says 12:32 at the top, but they explained that they calibrated and it was 10 minutes off at the 77. The owner's camera was 10 minutes off. So you can vaguely see, just barely in the background, the red pickup truck. It's up in the very upper right corner, and you can see it coming back. You can also see it's here, really behind the white numbers, but you can see that it's come back, and it's come all the way back. So putting it all together, I did two different exhibits so you could kind of see. These are the three rest stops that the police looked at: the New Canaan nearest Jennifer, Fairfield along the way, and the Valley Transit District. And they followed them through that 6:36 in the morning, 7:03 a.m. And remember, police all along had known that Jennifer must have disappeared between about 8 and 11 because of when she got back from taking the kids. And then 11:12, the vehicle goes back up. And the reason they knew that Jennifer had to have disappeared in there is because the nanny showed up at the house at about then, and Jennifer wasn't there. So at 11:12 a.m., they see the vehicle again. They track it at 11:25 a.m. at the Fairfield Service Plaza. At 11:40, it's at the Valley Transit District. And that was the only way you could see the New Canaan. The name disappeared. That's why I showed you that one. But this is the bigger picture of everything. The truck starts out all the way up at 80 Mountain Spring at 5:25 a.m. It hits New Canaan by 7:03 a.m. At 11:12 a.m., it's leaving New Canaan, and by 12:22 p.m., it is back in Farmington and turning into 80 Mountain Spring Road. And that is what happened to the red pickup truck. So I did mean to say put questions in. Sorry, put questions in quick. And if you would, please put question marks at the beginning. It really helps me spot them. It makes it a lot easier for me to spot. I do want to specifically answer, and let me go back over here and I'll pull out and remove that presentation. I hope you like that graphic. I was really proud of that one. Okay, let's go back here, and I will try to make my screen big again. And I want to answer Nancy H. Poor Nancy H. apparently asked me the same question twice, 2 nights in a row, and I missed it. But Marlon had your back, Nancy. So he sent me the question. Sorry about that. And she wanted to know, does the jury have to make 2 determinations? 1, did Fotis kill Jennifer? And 2, did Michelle Troconis conspire? And that's a great question. Michelle is accused of conspiring with Fotis and Kent Maywinnie. So yes, the state has to prove conspiracy to do a crime, and the crime was a murder. Do they have to necessarily prove it was Fotis who killed the person? Maybe not, but she conspired with certain people to commit the murder. They have to prove all of those elements if they're going to prove conspiracy to murder. So let me thank, I have many more people to thank. S. Watkins, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Deb and Carol. I appreciate that very much. That's Carol's second night, I think. Thank you. And the Traveler. Thank you, all of you. I greatly appreciate that. So I am going to head over and see if we've got some questions. I'm probably not going to answer questions for too long because I'm exhausted, but we will see how I do. I do really enjoy the question part and just kind of talking to y'all. So what I'm going to do is try to zip up to where I ask for the questions. And let's see, because were the keys in the switch? I don't think so. I saw that real quick. I think that's about where I asked for it. So where I asked for the questions. Okay, Victoria Jones, were the keys in the switch? And the keys have to be in the switch to put the vehicle in park. Interesting. I don't know the answer to that. I would have thought they would have said, and the keys were in the vehicle. And they didn't say that. I would really think that would be something they would want to say. It seems like an important point, but great question. Oh, you know what might be the reason for that, Victoria? Remember, this is a 2001 vehicle, and probably they did not have the same technology then. It may have required an actual physical oh, wait, no. We're talking not the Ford pickup truck, but Jennifer's car. That was a newer model, so I can't answer that question. I don't know. They didn't mention it. Carrie wants to know, the theory is that Fotis finished his trip to Jennifer's home by bicycle, but neighborhood cameras failed to show this. I suspect that Fotis traveled via bike through the woods. What I think and Carrie, that's a really interesting question. One of the things that they pointed out in the back of the truck at one point, just one time in the cameras they had from the rest stops, they saw two items in the back, and those two items, one was round and one was a white squarish looking item. The round one, they figured that was a bicycle wheel. It wasn't clear enough to possibly be able to make out. It was hard to even tell it was round. I thought that was almost stretching it, but it did seem kind of round. They do apparently, at least according to the arrest warrant affidavit, and not according to any evidence that has yet been presented at trial, but there was a camera view not right on Jennifer's road, but a camera view along a road not far from the park that would be a natural way to get to Jennifer's house from Lapham Road, that picked up a bicycle, an older looking vintage bicycle such as Fotis had. It was French. And so that may be presented at trial. It was in the affidavit, but we haven't seen it yet. Okay, let's see. Raleigh wants to know, didn't the nanny show up at the house about 11 a.m.? That is exactly what I understand, right about 11 a.m. And so that's how they can kind of bracket when the murder must have happened. They can kind of tell that. Okay, let's see. Who else had a question? What? There have to be more than that. I probably started at the wrong spot. And Raleigh also wants to know, do we know if Fotis or Michelle was driving the red truck? We can pretty much tell Michelle was not driving the red truck because the police checked out and confirmed her alibi. She went to several places around the area where she lived, and they were able to confirm that. They had video camera from a store she went to, and people were able to confirm it. So Michelle Troconis did not drive the red pickup truck, was not involved in any way that morning because she was confirmed to be back at home. She wasn't down where Jennifer was. And it's one of the problems for the prosecution is proving that she was connected. How do they do that? All right, let's see what else. And I see someone pointing out something that I have to agree is true. It is really strange that they did not actually have video cameras themselves. You would think that would have been something they had, but they did not. Bliss Singh asked me, maybe the vehicles found were even a ruse. What if her body was shipped out in a vehicle not included in this case? There certainly seems to be some missing pieces to me. Huge one is what happened to the body, right? There is no bigger missing piece in a murder case than that. That's as big as it gets. And it's difficult to understand how if he's on a bike, he drives her car, but I guess he'd have to put his bike with her car. Where's his bike? Those are just questions that are kind of difficult to understand. And I want to thank Atletus Eunice for who thanked me for the thorough breakdown. Thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat. Let's see. Marta wants to know, isn't it strange that the rest stops are about 20 minutes apart back? that they were different. I won't put it in the screen again because that takes so long. But there were some differences that I thought were kind of interesting. If you look at, well, maybe I will. I'll just put it in real quick. Here we go. That's not even hard. It's still right there. Okay. Notice that on the way down, it took longer to get from Fairfield to New Canaan. On the way back, it's only 13 minutes. On the way down, it's longer than that. Now, there are a couple of things that could account for that. Obviously, if somebody ran into traffic, it could just be something natural. It was an hour and 20 minutes on the way back, and that's what I got when I put it in as a time, how long it might take to drive that distance. It could also be that somebody was driving faster. Certainly, if you had just committed a murder, you'd be a little amped up, put it that way. You would definitely be, I think you'd be really hard pressed to calm down, especially if you had a body beside you, which seems incomprehensible to me. Kelly D wants to know, would you personally ever take someone's car and pay for it to be detailed? That's a strange fact. I think it's difficult to explain. Fotis isn't around to explain it. Michelle just said, hey, it's what he wanted to do. I don't think she had an explanation for it. And Big Dog wants to know, there wasn't an opening statement, so what are we going to see in closing? I think it really needs to bring it home. I mean, it needs, first of all, they need to be given a huge amount of time, a really long amount of time to explain and to put all this together. I really think they need to take advantage of every second the judge will give them to try to give everybody an overview picture, because it's really hard. I'm putting this together from a bunch of different places and witnesses, and the jury is going to have to do that without the benefit of being able to go back and look at it quite as easily as we can. Bisky wants to know, did Kent Maywinnie help Fotis transfer the body to somewhere? Kent is just this unknown entity in all of this. It's really confusing to know what exactly it is that they think Kent did and how he was involved. Michelle said Kent was at the Dulos home, which is also the 4-group headquarters, that he was there. Initially, she said he was meeting with Fotis. Then she said he was there to meet with Fotis. Everybody seems to agree that he was at the house that morning. But other than that, it's kind of unclear exactly what they think Kent Maywinnie did to be involved in the conspiracy. He's not on trial. He's still charged. He still is expected to go to trial. There's been some speculation that maybe he would come and testify against Michelle Troconis, but no, he hasn't done that yet. So we have a lot left to learn about what it is that police think he did to be involved. Jammy Mammy, I'll probably answer like 2 more questions. Jammy Mammy wants to know, could Fotis have ridden a bike? No, I think he definitely could have. I don't think it was too far at all. And I think he rode bikes. I think that was something he did, physically. He was a skier, so I think he was a sports person. So he could. Bridget wants to know, can a deceased person that would have been on trial still be convicted? I don't think so. I don't think there's any state that would do that. Couple of reasons. Probably you couldn't do it legally, but it also would be difficult to justify the resources to do that because it costs money to bring a trial and to bring a case. There was an attempt by Fotis Dulos's lawyers to go ahead and have his name cleared because they said he would have wanted that, but that went nowhere. And I don't know the details on that. I don't know why it went nowhere. I don't know if it was thrown out of court or what exactly happened, but it is, once the person dies, it's not really in play anymore anywhere that I know of. Okay, so Kaylee wants to know, couldn't the blood in the passenger seat just be the blood from all the stuff in the bags that he later threw away in Hartford? It could be. Maybe he had the bag sitting next to him and Jennifer's body was already gone. That would actually maybe make sense because he would then have had to have transferred them to the vehicle that he drove around Hartford, because he didn't drive the Toyota Tacoma around Hartford. He drove the black Raptor around Hartford, but that's possible. Maybe he did. Anna wants to know, is there not any video before 5:30 a.m.? How did he get to the place to pick up the truck? Such an interesting question. It's almost like someone slept at that house overnight to do this. I've wondered about that too. They said they were asked at the trial about why there wasn't video earlier, and there was nothing that picked up. It may have been a motion detector, and it was dark. So when they got that first video, it was right at when sunrise was happening. So I think they just probably couldn't see anything before that. There may have been movement. Somebody may have gotten there, but it was dark. But we don't know a lot about that. Oh my goodness, so many more questions. I'll do 2 or 3 more. And then I'm going to stop. 2 or 3 more. Linda wants to know, don't you think the nanny would know if the bloody shirt and bra belonged to Jennifer? Yes, I think she would know that. She testified she did the laundry. She probably would. They were also good friends, so I think she probably would. She wasn't asked about that because it had not yet been put into evidence, but she may be brought back to answer that question. Do you recognize this clothing? It also, though, I think may have had DNA of Jennifer Dulos, so they may not even need her for that. So we'll find out more about that as the trial progresses. So Aiden wanted to know, do I think Michelle Troconis was driving the red Tacoma? And I don't. I think because she had that alibi, she was not the person driving it. Cat Joy wants to know about that second raincoat, and did it have Troconis's DNA? I don't believe so. I don't believe that had her DNA. There were some trash bags that did, but nothing else as I recall. And that was more ambiguous because trash bags might be something that somebody would just be carrying around in the house if someone went to the grocery store and bought them. So that wasn't as strong evidence as I think. Kelly D wants me to go to the point of saying, is the state proving their case? It's such a good question, Kelly, but I really try hard not to answer that before the end. I just want to give everybody the full picture about the case without saying what I think too early. So I hold back on that. I appreciate your asking, though. Rachie wanted to know, did they search all the woods, etc., on the trail? I believe they did. I believe they took dogs in there. I think they went all out trying to follow it. They could not. They did not find anything that took them to a body or anything like that. And there was a period, I think they went on a trail to a certain spot and then it disappeared. They were not able to do any tracking, and they never have found the body. Bliss Singh wants to know about the relationship between Fotis and Greet shipping. The Greets are shipping tycoons. Maybe he shipped her body out, my goodness, and put the Connecticut shipping port on the map. I have no idea. I don't know what that would have been. There was no indication, though, that the pickup truck went anywhere outside of New Canaan, but maybe they didn't look. I don't know. All I know for sure is what they showed about where it came down to New Canaan and where it left. Why would Fotis's attorney get involved? Linda wants to know. And I think the reason, Linda, is that they were good friends. There's some weird suggestion that maybe Fotis would have been involved in a tit for tat because he was going through a contentious separation from his wife as well. But frankly, that's just a black box. We don't really know a lot about it. We do not know exactly what the contentions are, much less whether they're true against Kent Maywinnie. Okay, this is the total last question, and then I'm going to go over to the super chats because I see a few more have come in. Rather Be in Maui asked me, is the order by the prosecutors of the evidence and witnesses in this case confusing to the jury as much as it is to some who are watching? And yeah, I think that it is difficult for anybody to put together this massive amount of information. I think the reason the prosecution is doing it is they're very carefully only putting in evidence that they actually can show by this witness. They're doing it piece by piece in a building fashion. I do think by the time it comes to the end, they're going to have some witnesses who will put all this together, who will tell us everything. They want to make sure their verdict is secure on appeal. And that's why they're doing it just a little bit at a time. Now, the defense has been kind of impatient with this and said, well, can't we just do like, hey, we tested these 95 items and none of them were relevant. Wouldn't that be a little faster and easier for the jury? And that may be something that they are going to start to do, because the judge even seemed to say, well, I'm certainly open to that if y'all want to make some agreements on that. So let me head back over to the super chats. Thank you, Mama Pinks. I appreciate that very much. And CC and Inga Hane Doka. I love that name. Thank you all. I really appreciate your super stickers. Oh, Elf too. And Elf has a question. If Fotis drove the bicycle to Jennifer's house, why wasn't it picked up on camera? Excellent question, because her car was picked up by the neighbor's camera going back and forth to the school. And then again at about 10:35 leaving the house. And that's when the prosecution thinks she wasn't driving. They think Fotis Dulos was driving, and her body was in the back of the Chevy Suburban. So as far as why it wasn't picked up on the camera, I don't know the answer. Maybe he didn't take the bicycle that way. Maybe he cut through people's yards. Great question, and the prosecution hasn't answered it yet, so we don't really know the answer to that. Well, I have so many people to thank. Veronique, LNMD, KS, Kayla, let's see, Susan, Harley. Let me tell y'all too, hold on for just a second. I'll finish this, but I want to tell you about what's coming next. Harley, JCS, Peggy, S. Watkins, Deb, Carol, The Traveler, Elf, Inga, Cece, and Mama Pinks. Oh, and Marlon. Hey, Marlon. Marlon wants me to talk about the member page. And I want to tell you, there are 2 really big announcements coming for the channel next week. It's going to be a huge week. We're going to be doing, first of all, one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over Michelle Troconis's interrogations. And I'm going to be giving you the highlights from the interrogation so you can see exactly what it is that she said in the interrogation, what it is that made prosecutors think she was involved in the conspiracy to murder Jennifer Dulos. We're going to be breaking that down. Then, as far as next week, we're going to have those 2 big announcements. One of them is going to be memberships. We are finally, after multiple requests, we are going to have members, and we're going to be introducing that. I absolutely can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. It is going to be a lot of fun. Marlon has made a bunch of special emojis for us that we can use in the chat. And it's going to be great because we're going to be able to interact together with those and use them as part of sort of the way we communicate in the chat. So I'm really looking forward to that. I will see y'all next week. We normally go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. And so we're doing some extra lives because of the Troconis trial. So I will see y'all a lot next week.